After a little while away from Alaska, we are back today in Juneau, and we have crossed the bridge to Douglas Island for the first time. And today we are going to be doing the Dan Moller trailhead. This one supposedly takes us up to a ranger cabin that you can rent for the night if you choose to do so. We will not be doing so. We just hope that we can get up there and back before the end of the day. I can still see the parking lot. We've already come to our first little waterfall. I mean, I just got on the trail. Well, if that's any sign of things to come, this could be a really nice little hike. Also, it's away from the beaten path. You know, you have to cross the bridge to get onto the island. So oftentimes you're going to see people doing Mount Roberts and Mendenhall, which we've done before. Today I wanted to get out a little bit farther, and that took us to Douglas Island. Now, you can walk to Douglas Island from the port. It'll take about 45 minutes though, or you can take about a 15-minute cab if you can get it. But the lift to get here was going to be well over $30, maybe even $40 to get here. So instead I took the $2 bus. You can do it from the main metro center in downtown Juneau. It only takes about 15 minutes once you get on the bus. And you can pay for your fare with your phone using Apple Pay or a variety of payment methods through the transit app. Now, it goes without saying, depending upon when you're traveling, make sure you check the bus schedule to determine when the last bus is going to be so that you don't miss anything. Now, the good news though is if you give yourself plenty of time, it's about a 45-minute walk back to the pier if you can't get a bus or a cab. So schedule that into your padding just in case the bus isn't running to make sure you get back to the ship in time. This might be the most humid hike I've ever done in Alaska. I think these boardwalks are going over an entire area of just mud and swampy kind of area. So it is juicy out here, and it's like about 60, but I'm feeling pretty warm and pretty wet as well. Hey, check this out. We got ourselves a sign. Okay, 2.25 miles left to go to get to the cabin. Then we turn around, we do it all over again. And I'm hearing some more water as well, so probably gonna stay nice and humid for the rest of this trail. This is just so gorgeous and so serene. We are out in the wilderness. I've only seen one person so far and her 3 dogs. Well, we just ran into a wetland biologist who said that this indeed is a bog environment. And because the sun hasn't been out in a while, it's still very wet and moist because it hasn't dried out yet due to the heat of the summer. So, I'll tell you what though, I couldn't pick a nicer day to hike. There's no sun to worry about, no heat, and no cold. Watch your step. There was a little stream running alongside our trail. I've been hearing it for a while. Just stopped to change the battery in our time lapse and to tuck the camera away. because as of the way life works, I'm hearing lots of birds, but now the rain is starting to come and is starting to be just a little too much for my liking to have that camera swinging from my hip. In case it does open up, I want to have it in a nice waterproof camera bag. We have about 1.5 miles left to go before we get to the cabin and then turn around. We're about an hour into our hike, which should theoretically put us at about, hopefully 3 hours when it's all said and done. Maybe a little more. We'll just keep trucking. It's a-raining. We are less than 1 mile away from the cabin, coming back into an opening clearing here, as you can see. Still tight rope walking across the beams that have pretty much been our companion for this entire journey. So we are less than 1/4 mile away from the cabin when we came to this little offshoot here from the trail. Just a wee bit off the trail, there's a pretty impressive waterfall down here. Just watch your footing, because again, it's wet and muddy and definitely not an actual trail. I'm seeing some form of civilization in the form of a more industrial bridge. So that's a good sign. We are definitely getting up in the elevations, and I'm hearing voices, which means we are almost at the cabin. Oh, look at that. Hey there. You guys mind if I sit a spell? Absolutely, come on. No problem. She can come say hello. Hey there. Hey there, sweetie. How you doing? How you doing? You good now? Yeah, it wasn't too bad. The rain kept me clean, you know? Love the fact you guys have a campfire burning up here. It's perfect.
There's not very much fuel up here, actually. It's been picked.
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised you're burning anything. It's so wet. This hike was beautiful on the way up, and it's even more spectacular on the way down, as you can see all the way across the valley to the mountains in Juneau and beyond. So that was actually a nice looking cabin up there. Met some nice folks who were warming up a campfire to cook some dinner. We hung out for a few minutes. I caught my breath, and now we're heading back down. The rain has stopped, which is nice, but the temperature is dropping, so hopefully we'll get back before we get too chilly. Although I brought a coat, you got to be prepared. We've got about 2.5 hours left to get back to the ship. Yeah, it's 7 p.m. We've been hiking for about 2.5 hours since we got to the trailhead. Probably a little over 3 hours since we left the ship. We were heading on our way back down this nice, wet, slippery, damp trail. That's my watch just telling me we've hit 4 miles total. So we've got 2 left before we get to the trailhead, another 0.4 to the bus stop, and then we find out if there's a bus running at this time, or if we're gonna have to add another 2 miles to the trail. So my plan was to make sure that I got back out of this trail with at least 1.5 hours before all aboard. So in the event that I have to actually hike an extra 2 miles across the bridge back to Juneau, we've got the time to do it with an extra 40 minutes to spare. we shall see. We've got 2 miles to go before we end up at the end of this trail. It is now 7 o'clock, so if we get out of here by 8, that'll keep us right on point. So we shall see what happens. One thing to note, this is almost exclusively uphill for the first 3 miles of this hike, and then all downhill for the last 3 miles. Lots and lots of steps. If you have weak knees, this might not be the hike for you. I'm even feeling it a little bit. So I could just imagine if you had weak knees, you could be feeling some pain on the way back down. So keep that in mind when you decide to do this trail. Like I always suggest when going on hiking trails, especially the ones that might be wet, make sure you got good waterproof boots. It makes hiking in the rain so much nicer. I still have dry feet. The rest of me might be a little damp, but my feet are dry, and that's important. Another thing that I'm always telling all of my friends is take poles. It might look dorky at first, but consider it an extra set of legs, and it can definitely help with not only your balance, but your overall stress and fatigue, because it gets your arms into the action. Not only giving you an extra set of legs, but also giving your arms a workout too. I prefer the ones with the nice squishy grips and clasps to lock the length of the posts as opposed to the twists, because I feel like there's more fail points that sometimes get introduced with twist locks versus the clasps. I've had these for going on 10 years now, and they're still pretty much just as good as the day I got them, except this one's missing its little colorful plastic cap. But other than that, it's fully functioning and still works just as good as the day I got them. So spend the extra money if it's something you plan on using for a long time, and they will last you a long time. 7:42, approximately 18 minutes ahead of schedule. So now we got to find out if we're going to have to hike another 2 miles back to the ship, or if we can catch a bus. So like I was concerned about, the next bus isn't showing up for 35 minutes, or I could just take a 36-minute walk and get back to the ship without waiting. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So we'll tack on another 1.5 miles to the hike. So not taking the bus not only got us back to Juneau faster, we got to hike across this crazy bridge, and we got to do a cool photo op at this cool whale sculpture. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to stop and check all this out. But if you schedule yourself a little more time, this little trail along the harbor, it's tons of cool stuff. Just under 4 hours and 8.3 miles later, we have hiked from the top of one of those mountains, not entirely sure which one, all the way down across the bridge through downtown Juneau, back to home with 45 minutes to spare. That was a long one. And it was pretty wet the entire time. Not great on the knees, but definitely had some cool sights and sounds. And if you want to get away from it all, I saw 2 people on the trail and 2 people in the cabin, so 4 people total for the majority of my 4-hour hiking. Until next time, I'll catch you later.